Greetings, Flosstube. It is Thursday, October 11th, 2018. It is 7:38 p.m. I've just got another brief little Flosstube interlude because I wanted to share a finish with you. This is a piece that is the most emotionally difficult thing I've ever stitched, to be honest with you. It's the tribute for my close friend Paul, who died in June. I started stitching it the day of the memorial service when we got home from Connecticut, but for a while I couldn't even look at it because it was just too much to deal with. And then I decided, when we found out that the 1998 squad was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I decided I wanted to have it done for that weekend, which was last weekend. And I got it to my framers with plenty of time, and I could have picked it up last week. But to be honest with you, there was a total bullshit meltdown. Pardon my French, but there's no other way. I usually try not to swear in my videos, but there's really no other way to describe it except just a bullshit, overreactive political meltdown after the Ohio University loss a couple of weeks ago. That ruined my plans. I'm not going to get into it here because it's political and it's just the biggest crock I've ever heard. If you want to know what happened, Google Mark Whipple. It's all over everything. You won't have any problem finding the story if you really want to know what happened. But suffice it to say, it ruined my plan. So what I planned to do was last Thursday pick it up, write a letter to the ops staff, and have Bill present it on Friday, when some alumni from the 98 squad were around, because Coach Gorham Paul coached during the 98 season, and he was part of that big win where they won three away playoff games in a row to get to the national championship and won. And that was the plan, but like I said, best laid plans, they always find a way to get screwed up. So I was just like, okay, screw it. I'm not going to even go pick it up right now. I was really kind of upset, but not for myself, not in a selfish way. I was just upset that one went down the way it did, and that Coach Whipple got in as much trouble as he did. And I felt really bad. He at least got to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony and dinner with his guys that he coached back then, because I was afraid with the suspension and everything that he was going to be kept out of that too. But at least that was not, it was just basically you can't be anywhere near the office, you can't coach the game. His son coached the game for him and did as best as he could, but our defense defies the laws of physics because it sucks and blows at the same time. So yeah, we lost. We put up 42 points and had almost 500 yards of total offense, and we still lost. And Coach Whipple wasn't even coaching, but the fans always want to blame Whip, when it's clearly our defense and our offensive line that sucks eggs through a straw. So anyway, you can't tell I'm a little bit bitter about that whole thing, can you? So anyway, Bill had the day off on Monday because it's been our open week, and I just asked him if he would mind going to my framer and picking this up for me. And I think it's probably I think it's the first time he's ever gone and picked anything up for me from the framer. So he got to see the big reveal, and he sent me a text and said it was beautiful and he loved it. And I have to admit, this is something I'm very proud of, although the emotions involved in cross-stitching this were just terrible. But anyway, here it is. I'm going to try to get to where it's not got the computer. Well, you're going to have that anyway because of the bright glass, so you kind of see like the reflection of, from the camera. But this was the hindsight pattern. You know how they have, hindsight has all those just the words with the charms. So this was a hindsight pattern that I'd had in my stash forever, and I didn't even know what I was going to stitch it for, who I was going to stitch it for, so it really was just fate, I guess, that I had this when I found out that Paul had passed away. And the writing, the red, is a font from one of those DMC books that I showed in one of my other videos. And then on the side, I was going to put his number over here on the side, But I forgot when, I think he was number 88 when he played in college because he was a tight end. So he could have been, he was a, you know, like a double digit even numbers, or I think the tight ends. But I couldn't remember his number, and I'm not in contact with his wife to have asked her. So what you see there is all the schools where he coached. He played at UNH, University of New Hampshire, and then he was a graduate assistant there. So he started coaching there right after he graduated. And then he was in New Haven, and Brown is where he met Whip, and they became lifelong friends. He also, when he was at University of New Hampshire as a player, he played with Dave Wisman, who was our defensive line coach, for Eddie Pinkham, who was our defensive coordinator. And I'm sorry to say, but I think both those guys were on the chopping block at the end of the season. So then I put UMass, and when he left UMass in 2003, he went to Sacred Heart, and he was there until he got sick and was forced out. Sacred Heart's kind of on my shit list, pardon my French, because instead of letting him retire for medical reasons, they fired him. So yeah, no respect for Sacred Heart whatsoever. But because the charms are so dimensional, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but the charms are very, very three-dimensional. So they had to do this as a shadow box. And it's just a very simple gray mat. The fabric I used was like a bluish gray. I can't remember. It was a Zweigart. It was something, actually, I think it was something I bought when I was on vacation, when I went to Needle Point Junction. So it was a very simple piece of fabric. And I wanted to keep this as simple as possible because he was a man of simple taste. He was not fussy at all. Yeah, he was kind of the stereotypical New England Yankee. You know, you always knew exactly where you stood with him. He was blunt. You know, he told things like they were. But he also didn't go in for a show or a fuss, and didn't like to have a fuss made over him and stuff. So I just got a very simple frame. But they had to do it like a shadow box because of the dimensionality of the charms. So I'm really proud of this. Like I said, it's one of the most difficult things I've ever stitched, but it comes from the heart. I'm hoping they'll hang it in the suite where he worked, because in the middle of the football office, there was like this bullpen area, which is where all the ops and recruiting interns and GAs worked. There was like a bullpen of desks, and his office was off to the side. So I'm hoping they'll be able to put this in there somewhere. But I just wanted to share it with you before I have Bill take it on Sunday to the staff. You know, like I said, my plans for it got all shot to hell. But, you know, maybe, given now that I'm thinking about it, given how private a person Paul was, maybe it was best not to go in for a show with giving it to the team, you know, out of respect for the way he was. Maybe that's the silver lining in the cloud, I guess. So that was really all I wanted for this little Flosstube interlude. I just wanted to share that. And until next time, I wish you happy stitching and a happy life. And hopefully I'll be back with a full-on Flosstube video in another week or so. Thank you.